Hello, and a warm welcome to our show, Love Athletics. In this program, we bring you the latest highlight of our sport with expert input from different continental areas. And we're delighted to have back with us on the show French-Canadian Africa specialist Carole Fuchs, the co-founder of African Athletics United Facebook page. Hello, Carole. Lovely to see you. Big thank you for
everyone. I'm glad to be here with you again, Anna. And greetings to everyone from snow-covered Toronto. We are in January.
Definitely. So at this time of the year, the athletics action comes mainly from out-of-stadium events. So we will start with Saturday's World Cross Country Championships, then talk about notable road races, including Valencia 10K and the St. Sylvester races, but also some interesting indoor marks, and take a final look at the Athlete of the Year awards after new announcements in the last 4 weeks. So let's start with the World Cross. Now, with the men, the previews for the race had focused on the renewed battle between Uganda's Jacob Kiplimo and Ethiopia's Berihu Aregawi, but the Olympic 10,000 meter silver medalist could not match Kiplimo's kick in the last lap, finishing 8 seconds behind and collecting his third World Cross silver. Kenya's top athlete, Daniel Simiyu Ebenyu, closed a further 9 seconds adrift. Now, Kiplimo really confirmed his supremacy, winning the men's title for the third time, plus, of course, the under-20 gold he had won at home in Kampala in 2007. So he is now equal fourth on the all-time senior men's winners list, tied with Portuguese great Carlos Lopes, and behind legendary Kenenisa Bekele, 11 titles, including short cross, John Gugi and Paul Tergat, who have 4 titles each. Now, Carole, Jacob Kiplimo is really confirming that he's a dominant force in athletics, excelling in cross and road running, with his half marathon world record and a really convincing move to the full marathon with victory in Chicago last October.
Yeah, actually, I wasn't sure if he would be competing in the cross country after making the switch to the marathon, but I guess he answered the call of the nation, and also by the fact that he returned, it really helped cement his place in the cross-country world as a cross-country legend. He already had the 2 titles, but he shows that outside the track, he's one of the top runners currently.
Yeah, it's true, because on the track he had silvers, but he wasn't as strong on track as he is in out-of-stadium events.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, in the women's race, Agnes Jebet-Ngetic had all eyes firmly on her when defending champion Beatrice Chebet announced that she would not be in Tallahassee as she was taking maternity leave. Not an easy position, but Ngetic left her opposition no chance, winning by a huge 42 seconds over Uganda's runner-up, Joy Cheptoyek, and 45 seconds over Ethiopia's bronze medalist, Seyanet Getachew, the second largest winning margin in history after Norway's legendary Grete Waitz 44-second win in 1980. Now, Ngetic was impressive, but we also need to speak about Joy Cheptoyek, who took a historic first ever senior women's individual medal for Uganda. Now, Carole, were you expecting a medal from Cheptoyek?
I thought it was definitely a possibility, because while Agnes Jebet-Ngetic was really above the rest of the field, the second tier was kind of more level. And actually there were signs also I know World Athletics used a graphic, used Agnes Ngechi against Sarah Chelangat of Uganda as a presentation to the race. And there were some Ugandan commentators saying, watch out Cheptoyek instead, rather than Chelangat. And I mean, her past performances were fine, but she hasn't been running a lot abroad. So it's difficult to, to know the current state of shape of athletes.
Yeah, that's true with athletes that we don't often see on the circuit. It's a bit difficult to judge how they can, compete. But already the fact that on a big international event she delivered, that's really good.
Yes, indeed.
So let's talk now about the mixed relay, a surprising race with favorites Kenya out of the medals altogether, as Australia took the gold, anchored home by Olympic 1500 silver medalist Jessica Hull. Now, Australia had fielded a strong team, including Oliver Hoare, Lyndon Hall, Jack Anstey, as well as Hull. The country had already won bronze on home soil in Bathurst in 2023, and this time topped to the podium, finishing 3 seconds ahead of surprising French team and 11 seconds ahead of Ethiopia, while Kenya missed the podium, as we said, for the first time ever. Now, Carole, Australia was one of the rare non-African countries to win world cross medals this century. Benita Willis Johnson took gold in 2004, as well as 4 fourth place finishes, and also not a bad effort from Craig Mottram, who was 5th in 2005. But were you expecting a medal from France?
No, honestly, not really, because I was expecting Kenya and Ethiopia to be on the podium and Australia too. So there was no room left for France. But I guess it's a serious warning to Kenya and Ethiopia that they have to bring their top runners if they want to shine in the mixed relay, which is shorter distance these days.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think it's also good for Agathe Guillemot. She's had some really good results in the past couple years, and this will give even more encouragement.
But also one of the most determinant runner was Senna, the third leg, who I didn't know really much, but I checked online, and he actually already got several medals with at the European level in cross country. Okay. For him, it was really a kind of a breakthrough on the international.
Yeah, yeah. Now, we also need to point out that the Ethiopian team was decimated by visa issues, especially in the men's under 20, where the country was left with 1 lone contender, but also in the women's under 20 race, where only 3 athletes made it to Tallahassee instead of the 4 required to score for the team.
Yeah. So it really shows difficulties that athletes have to get a visa in regular lives. But for emerging athletes who haven't competed abroad, it's even harder. It's mostly athletes who haven't had a travel history yet, which are the most affected. And with the current world situation, with the United States being more restrictive, it really didn't help. And I'm concerned about the World U20 Championships that are supposed to take place, that will take place in August in Oregon. Because what is going to happen in terms of participation?
Yes, exactly. For athletes and also for journalists, because I remember even in events in the US, journalists that we had invited, 5 journalists, only 2 of them got the visa, and 1 of them got it after the competition was finished. So yes, it is complicated for sports. So let's look now at the under 20 races. Among the men, Kenya put on a staggering demonstration of force, placing their runners in the top 5 positions, probably not in the order people would have expected. They were led home by Franklin Kibet, who was contesting his first global championships, with the 4 scoring athletes achieving a perfect 10. Among the under 20 women, Ethiopia's Marta Alemayo, who has set 3 world under 18 records in 225, 3,000 indoor and outdoor, and 5,000 meters, again showed that she was a cut above the field, winning by 26 seconds over compatriot Wose Asefa and 27 over Uganda's Charity Cherop. Now, Almayo was the second best winning margin in the under 20 women's in world cross history, just 2 seconds short of the gap achieved by her compatriot Gelete Burka in 2007. Now, I personally expected a little bit more from 5th placed Yerenes Shimket, who had really impressed me at the Cinque Mulini, and who had then won another World Cross Tour gold event in Alcobendas the following week. So, Carole, what did you think of the under 20 races?
Yeah, the under 20 races in the men's races, Kenya dominated. You could feel the absence of competition, but I think it reflects also the senior race. Like East Africa is really dominant.
Yeah,
and so the other countries try to get in the top 20, top 15, because the top 10 is full.
Yes, it's funny. Japan always has a team bronze. They added another one to their collection, but yes, definitely it's about East Africa. So let's talk a little bit about the course. Tallahassee organizers gave the circuit a very Floridian look, with alligator-shaped obstacles in a section aptly named Alligator Alley. I liked that. Definitely better than the car tires of Bathurst. However, I was less enthusiastic about the unnaturally blue-colored water in the Florida coast section. So, Carole, what did you think about the course?
Yeah, the landmarks, the Florida landmarks were good finds for the obstacles. Unfortunately for TV viewers, there were parts of the obstacles we were not able to see properly, because a large part of the race was filmed by drones. So we had a view from the top, and we couldn't necessarily follow well the runners. Then it depends who you ask. If you ask my father, who is from the older generation of cross-country runners, he was saying, what a cross-country course is that? There are a few obstacles, but the rest is hard, flat surface, like a truck. Where is the real cross-country, what he was saying?
No, that's true. But I mean, we had one in Portugal, which was grass, very flat, except for, it was almost like a 10K on track, you know, the course was so flat. There was just a minimal obstacles. Then you had Edinburgh, where they were really running up the mountain. That was tough, but it was brilliant. Not always easy to, you know, to put up a good course in different parts of the world.
Yeah, but England was saying they are looking to host in the future, so maybe let's cross our fingers that they get a future edition and a nice tough course.
Yeah. So to conclude our review of the World Cross Country Championships, let's take a look at the medal table. Kenya and Ethiopia both had 2 golds and 2 bronzes, but Kenya had 4 silver, so they top the list. Uganda, 2 gold, 2 silver, and 3 bronzes. Australia with their relay gold, France relay silver, Japan and United States with 2 bronzes. 4 countries won gold and 7 won at least 1 medal. Now the placing table obviously topped by Kenya with 92 points, followed by Ethiopia 73, Uganda 62, US 25, which is interesting. They obviously had more depth than Australia with 22. And then France 11, Japan 9, Spain also 9, Britain 8, Canada 5, South Africa 3 points, like Tanzania, and China 2 points. Now, Carole, another thing which is a bit strange is the calendar this year, because the World Cross Country Championships have just taken place in the first half of January. Normally they would be at the end of March, but the big question is what interest can the second half of the World Cross Country Tour possibly have post-World Championships?
I don't know if there's that much unity in the World Cross Country Tour in itself, if it's really much followed, but I noticed the fields for El Goiba next weekend is quite good, actually, with Beriwa, Regawi, Winfried Yavi. So at least for the individual races, depending on the organizer, they still seem to be able to attract some fields.
It's also strange because Nadia Battocletti, I spoke to FIDAL and they said she wasn't, well, they'd announced that she'd be competing indoors, and they confirmed that she wasn't doing Tallahassee because she was focusing on 1500 indoor, but then she's entered for San Giorgio sul Legnano. So, okay, I guess she couldn't, she had already missed Cinque Mulini. I guess if she missed the second leg in Italy, it wouldn't have gone down too well, but still, yeah, a little bit strange. So let's move now to road races. We start with a quick review of the top traditional year-end competitions held on 31 December. The most famous one, of course, is the Corrida de San Silvestre in Sao Paulo. It celebrated its 100th edition, 15-kilometer course. It was hot, 28 degrees, and with high humidity. Men's competition saw victory for Ethiopia's Muse Gizachu, who closed 4 seconds ahead of Kenya's Jonathan Kipkoech Kamosonga. Among the women, the winner was Tanzania's Cecilia Ginoka Panga, who completed the course a full minute and 23 seconds ahead of Kenya's Cynthia Chemweno. 31st December, also Cursa dels Nassos in Barcelona on the notoriously fast 5K course. Ethiopian Likina Meba, who was based in Spain, confirmed her improved international standing, taking the win in 14:23, well ahead of France's Agathe Guillemot with 15:04 PB. And that mark brings Likina to number 5 in the all-time list and the difference. Men's race was not as fast. Victory going to Portugal's José Carlos Pinto in 13:10, a national record, ahead of Norway's Magnus Tuve Myhre, 13:13, also national record, while favorite Tirindi Kumwenayo, the European cross-country champion, faded to 3rd, finishing in 13:22. Now that was a bit of a letdown for someone who had announced a European record attempt. Also on the 31st, Bo Classic in Bolzano, 10K for men and 5K for women. That event was notably especially for the men's race, where Ethiopia's Yomif Kejelcha set a course record of 27:42, ahead of countryman and last year's winner, Telahun Haile Bekele, 27.47, and home favorite Yemane Berhan Kripa with 27.57. Now, Yomif had announced in Tokyo that he intended now to focus on road running last year. So it will this year. So it will be interesting to see how he progresses on the roads. Among the women, the race brought joy to Italian fans, with multi-talented Nadia Battocletti dominating in 15:51 for her third consecutive victory, ahead of Italian teammate Federica Del Buono and Ethiopia's Xanet Alem. Now, Carole, is there anything you'd like to highlight from the St. Sylvester races?
Yeah, there was also the Silvestre Vallecana in Madrid, which is a downhill race, so the performances are not recognized internationally, which was won by Kenya's Geoffrey Kamworor in a solo victory, and Spain Marta Garcia. On the whole, fewer African runners maybe for this race, more European fields, but I guess the top athletes are not short of opportunities to race these days, as we see with all the early races in January.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, I'd seen, of course, San Silvestre Vallecana, and I was happy for Kamworor's win because he's an athlete I really like, and the fact that he's still competing and winning. But I figured the results were not as good as the other ones. So 2026 also brought some interesting road results. On 4 January in Nice, Belgium's Jana van Lent won the 10K Prom Classic in 30:10, smashing the longer-standing European record by Paula Radcliffe, which was 30:21, set in 2003, and also the women-only record set in 2022 by Britain's Eilish McColgan. A week later, in Valencia, the 10K saw very high quality races and a host of national records. Among the women, Kenya's Brenda Chepchirchir won in 29:25 PB to move to equal fifth in the all-time list, beating Ethiopia's Likina Ameba 29:99 and Kenya's Claire Ndiwa 29:49. And Eilish McColgan, finishing 8th in 30:08, took 2 seconds off the fresh European 10K record set just a week earlier by Jana van Lent. Now, the men's race was also of a high level and was won by Sweden's Andreas Almgren in 26:45, ahead of 19-year-old Ethiopian Kairi Bejiga in 26:51 PB, with Kenya's Victor Kipruto third in 27:17. Almgren's mark allowed the Tokyo World Championships 10,000 meters bronze medalist to improve his own European record, which was 26:53, and he moves to number 6 in the all-time list. Now, that is the 4th European record for Almgren between January 2005, the 10K in Valencia, and January 2006 with the new 10K record. So he's one of the athletes that has really improved a lot last year. On 11 January was also the Houston Half Marathon, and we'll mention the top results there in the top marks section. So Carole, anything you would like to add about early 2026 road races?
Yeah, especially regarding Valencia. So in the men's race, Andreas Almgren was the star of the race and he delivered. But in the women's race, I was really surprised by Brenda Chepchirchir's victory because I didn't expect anyone to beat Likina Ameba. And so I had to to look at her profile on World Athletics, check the stats, and there was also an interesting article by Let's Run explaining that she was an NCAA athlete last year, but the US didn't suit her well, so she returned to Kenya at the end of the university year and has been training since, and her times have completely exploded since.
It's always amazing how there's such a depth of talent, especially in Kenya, Ethiopia, that athletes we don't really know well show up at major events and they produce really fantastic results. So this is another example of that. Thank you, Carole. So let's look now at another aspect of road races, that's race walks. Just to mention that the winners of the 2025 World Race Walking Tour have been formally announced. They are Spain's double world champion Maria Perez, undefeated last year, with a total of 4,136 points, while the two athletes who had claimed silver medals behind her in Tokyo completed the top three. Mexico's Alegna Gonzalez with 3,960 points, and Italy's Antonella Parmisano in the 35K with 3,958 points. Among the men, the winner was Canada's 35K world champion Evan Dunphy with 4,077 points. I thought that was a bit strange because that was ahead of Brazil's 20K world champion and Caio Bonfima, who was also a silver medalist in the 35K. And third was Spain's Paul McGrath with 3,940 points. Now, both Perez and Dunphy achieved the highest scores ever in the current format. So, Carole, race walking was not popular in Africa years ago, apart from Tunisia. But after Kenya's Samuel Gathimba, in the last couple of years, Ethiopia's Misgana Wakuma has taken the continental lead. Do you believe the popularity of the event can continue to grow in Africa?
Right now, I'm not that confident because there is a terrible lack of opportunities and competitions possibilities for African athletes with no events in Africa except the African Championships, and difficulty to access the races in Europe because there's no money in the race walks, and the athletes cannot afford the flight tickets to compete. But to qualify for World Championship, they have to qualify through the rankings. So they don't get enough events to qualify through the rankings. So there is a huge barrier for emerging race walkers to reach the upper level, the world level. And even once they are at the world level, you barely see them compete.
Yes, this is the problem with the rankings, because I was a big fan, but then you realize that the system is really unfair for athletes from Africa, from South America, because most competition opportunities are in Europe. They don't have the financial means to travel there. Sometimes their visas are refused. So it's not as balanced a system as you could think, just because there are so many athletes, as I said, especially Africa and Latin America, who cannot travel to to competitions which give a lot of points, and therefore, it's not ideal.
But the Continental Confederation should also offer some opportunities. And in the past, there was a yearly race walk competitions in Mauritius, which doesn't exist anymore.
Yes, they have a big part of responsibility as well. Thank you, Carole. So let's move now to stadium events. Indoor season has now started in earnest, and there's already a world under-20 record. At the Clemson Invitational on 10 January, US sprinter Jonathan Sims clocked 44 0.63 over 400 meters. Now, that's not only the world under 20 record, but it's so good that he actually moves to equal number 4 in the all-time short track list. So very, very impressive performance by Jonathan Sims. And it'll be really interesting to see how the rest of his season develops. There were other very good marks, and we will mention all of them in the top marks session. So let's take a final look at the Athletes of the Year awards. Now, all not winners by the various bodies have been announced. So let's take a look at how they voted. Starting, of course, with World Athletics. As we know, they had Mondo Duplantis as Athlete of the Year, Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone. Now, it's interesting because USATF had Melissa Jefferson-Wooden. As rising stars, they had Edmond Serem and Chinese hammer thrower Zhang Jiale. African athletics, of course, Athlete of the Year, and I agree with that. Colin Busan-Kebinachipi and Beatrice Chebet. European athletics had Mondo Duplantis and Femke Bolle, though for me that should have been Maria Perez. And interestingly, in the Netherlands, they voted for Jessica Schilder, not for Femke. Under 20s, European Hubert Troshanka, Polish combined eventer, and 800 meter Swiss Audrey Wero. Athletics Weekly, Mondo Duplantis and Faith Kipyegon, which I think was a little strange. And among the under 20s, they had Gout and Kelly Douala, two very talented young sprinters. Track and Field News, this is new. And it's interesting because they had a 34-member panel. Among the men, they were unanimous. Mondo Duplantis, I don't think anybody can say anything against that. And they had Beatrice Chebet with 94.4 of the votes, and I totally agree with that. So Track and Field News had Emmanuel Wanyonyi in 2, Rai Benjamin 3, Noah Lyles 4, Cordell Tinch 5, Ethan Katzberg 6, Sebastian Sawe 7, then Nicolas Alekna, Oblique Seville, and Julian Weber. And among the women, Melissa Jefferson-Wooden 2nd, Faith Kipyegon 3rd, Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone 4th, Valerie Allman 5th, which I think does some justice to the fabulous season she had, Anna Hall 6th, Femke Bolle 7th, then Cameron Rogers, Maria Perez, and Faith Cherotic. Now, what's interesting is that Track and Field News also have a Performance of the Year, and they gave that to Mondo and Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone, which I can understand because, I mean, for me, Beatrice Chebet was unrivaled throughout the season, but I can understand that McLaughlin-Levrone would get a Performance of the Year award. So let's look at multi-sports organizations or votes. The BBC gave Mondo Duplantis the Sports Personality of the Year for the 2nd consecutive year, and only 3 other athletes had achieved this double: Muhammad Ali, Usain Bolt, and Roger Federer. For the AIPS, it was Mondo Duplantis and Beatrice Chebet. Mondo was the only one from athletics among the men, while among the women, Chebet was 2nd, McLaughlin-Levrone 4th, Femke Bolle 5th, Kipyegon 8th, and Valerie Allman 10th. L'Equipe had Mondo Duplantis 2nd, behind cyclist Tadej Pogacar, and Sydney McLaughlin also 2nd, with Melissa Jefferson-Wooden 3rd and Beatrice Chebet 9th, while L'Equipe's female winner was swimmer Summer McIntosh. So, Carole, what about you? Who were your athletes of the year?
Oh, my top athletes was not surprising. It was obviously Mondo Duplantis and Beatrice Chebet for their overall results also throughout the year, world records and the unbeaten streak by Beatrice Chebet. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, Mondo is unanimous except for L'Equipe giving it to Tadej Pogacar. And for me, Beatrice was so much stronger than any other woman because of the consistency throughout the year, because of the double in Tokyo, because of the world record in Eugene, a historical world record. So for me, it definitely was Beatrice Chebet. And Carole, who were your rising stars, men and women?
I mean, rising star is mainly subjective because you don't have the same season with highlights as for seniors, because athletes do not take part to the same competition. So I picked Binyam Meari, the Ethiopian long distance runner, who is an emerging athlete and who had a tremendous 10,000 race in the US in Diamond League, beating Beriwa Regawi on the line. That's for my pick for the men's. And in the women's, I wanted to highlight the Chinese javelin thrower, Zhang Diyi, who's been among the world top performers for the past 2 years. But interestingly, she was not able to compete in Tokyo because she was too young.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. She's an athlete that I really, really like. And I had the chance to speak to her at the, I think it was Xiamen Diamond League last year. And as you say, she throws with the under 20 implement. She was still under 18 and she was just too young for the major events, but she's been throwing very, very consistently. So yeah, I also appreciated her a lot. And Binyam, I couldn't find a photo of Binyam alone, so I'm sorry he's behind Nico Young there, but definitely great athlete. So let's take a final look at the whole of 2025. Carole, what were your favorite moments of last year?
So early in the season, I would say I was interested by the novelty of the Grand Slam track, which didn't survive past the year, as we know.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to see how athletes would approach the 2 consecutive races and running with athletes in different events than theirs.
Yes.
So I had fun watching Emmanuel Wagnoni won the 1500 in front of the 15 specialists in a great tactical move.
Yes.
And later in the season, it was, of course, the Tokyo World Championships.
Yes.
With some favorites ruling the event and also major upsets, but really thrilling competition throughout the week, the extended week of the championships.
Tokyo was amazing, really fantastic event. So Carole, who are 4 athletes, 2 men and 2 women, other than your athletes of the year, who particularly impressed you last year?
So on the men's side, Emmanuel Wagnoni was definitely a top athlete. He would have been my top athlete if Mondo Duplantis wasn't there. But because he really also dominated the season, and I also likes how he runs and how he takes risks. He does not let others take control of the race if he wants to take control. So he's been trying to chase the world record, not successful this year, but he's been leading racing and taking control, even though the competition was really tough.
He never talks about world record. He always talks about improving his PB, which is the kind of modesty I like.
And another one who impressed me as a surprise in Tokyo was the victory in the 10,000 by Jimmy Gressier, who also won the Diamond League just a couple of weeks before the World Championships. So it was one of the upset. Like, if African runners let the race be tactical, now they have to face the possibility of being beaten in the sprints, because other athletes from Europe and from the US have managed to reach a level where they are competitive.
Definitely. If you look at Tokyo, you have Jimmy with the gold and Andreas Almgren in bronze. So that was really interesting. And Gressier had a fantastic year, because in the indoor season last year, he'd also had some very, very good performances. And I think he really matured a lot while keeping this natural, he's not changed a lot, but he's matured.
Yeah. And on the women's side, I picked Melissa Wooden-Jefferson in the sprints. She's been dominant in the season from the early part, from April, and in September she also still managed to rule and defeat Julian Alfred to get the double. So that was really a major feat.
Yeah, for me too, because she was so dominant the whole season. She didn't lose a race in Grand Slam track. She came over to Europe for Diamond League meets. Then she put on a fantastic show in Tokyo. So really huge appreciation. And I like somebody who's good throughout the year, not who just pops up at 2 or 3 events for a great performance. So yes, Melissa Jefferson Wooden for sure.
And among the most surprising results were, I would like to mention Ditaji Kambuji's world title in the 100-meter hurdles. And the 100-meter hurdles is one of the toughest races, I would say, to the extent that where competitions always shows up.
Yeah.
So the top women are not scared to face each other, but you can get a different result every time. And she was there on the day, and she really showed up and she broke her PB when it mattered most. And it's also important as an athlete to be able to be there when it matters most.
Yes, definitely. No, great. And Carole, what are the events or athletes you're most looking forward to in 2026?
So I know in 2026 there's no major championship. There's a big, the Ultimate World Championship experiments, and we're gonna see what it turns out to be compared to a Diamond League final. But for me, I'm more interested in smaller championships like the African Championships and the Commonwealth Games, which give a platform to emerging athletes that we don't know yet that well to record performances which in international competitions and which are internationally recognized. Because these days also now World Athletics only records performance which are achieved in registered meets. So in many African countries, for example, athletes' performances do not appear anymore in world rankings, which is a bit of a pity. So smaller championships are really the moment for these athletes to get a chance to shine on the international stage and to emerge as a potential new generation of athletes.
Now, I must admit, I can't get enthusiastic about Commonwealth Games, but African Championships, I'm thinking about going. Are you going to be in Accra, Carole?
No, I don't think so. With a full-time job, it's difficult for me to travel these days.
No. I actually want to go to Gaborone for the World Relays because that's going to be crazy in Botswana. So I'm still considering whether to go to Accra, but World Relays in Botswana for sure.
Great plans for 2026, Anna.
Oh, yes. So World Athletics has released the new competition performance rankings, which confirmed that Tokyo World Championships was amazing, as it achieved the highest ever total for this type of event, 197,279 points, only bettered by the Paris Olympics. Diamond League also published its 2025 stats, with a standout achievement being Noah Lyle's sixth 200 meters Diamond League title, making him the most successful track athlete ever in the series. Now, talking about Diamond League, the meetings also chose the Diamond League photo of the year, which is this picture by German photographer Maria Grünack of Marie-Josée Talou competing in heavy rain in Lausanne. That was a crazy meet. Now, it's interesting that the perspective is very similar to the picture taken by Norway's Vegard Grøt at the Dream Mile during the Diamond League in Oslo, which was awarded by World Athletics as the 2025 Photograph of the Year. And by the way, Carole, what do you think of Talou?
Talou is still doing well. I think she is enjoying the current phase of her career. And she may make the pleasure last as long as she can. I mean, after the Olympic Games in Tokyo, she has a long period where she was doubting if it was worth carrying on or not, and she found a new use. She changed coach, when moved to the US, got married, and I guess she found new energy to keep going, and she knows people love her, and she has a strong backing of fans, which has been helping her to keep going.
And she was telling me last year how Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce was among those fans saying she should continue competing. So thank you, Carole. It's time now to go back to the global overview of our sport and check out all the best results since the last show, starting with the senior men's events. Now, we had already looked at some of the performances achieved in December, but we'll now look at all of them, as I was missing some of the marks from the underage categories. So the list will therefore include marks from December 25 and January 26, just like Tilastopaya includes December marks with the following year's indoor lists. So here we go, top marks for 25-26. And again, we continue to add in brackets marks which are regular, which are listed on the respected website Tilastopaya, but do not appear on World Athletics list. Sometimes, as Carole said, because the meet is not in the World Athletics calendar. So starting with the men, 400 meters, as we saw, this great mark of 44.62 by Jonathan Sims, an under 20 athlete who moves to number 4 in the senior all-time short track list. That, of course, is an under 20 world record. We had already discussed the 600 meters world best by Josh Hoey on 6 December in Boston. On that day, there were lots of very good performances in the 5,000 meters. Habtom Samuel, 13:05:21. Marco Langon, 13:05:21. Same time for them both, 13:05:57 for Gary Martin. Pole vault, 5 December in Notre Dame, Indiana, 5 meters 90 for Zachary Bradford. The 10K races in Valencia, we mentioned 26:45 European record for Andreas Almgren, and moves to number 6 in the all-time list, and 26:51 for 19-year-old Kairi Bejiga, who moves to number 10 in the all-time list. Half marathon in Houston, 59:01 for Eritrea's Hampton Samuel. That's just slightly below our cutoff, but still a very good mark. Best performances of the fortnight is Jonathan Sims' World Under 20 record, which is worth 1,269. Then, of course, we had Josh Hoey's indoor world best, which was worth 1,319. So let's look at the women. The most interesting marks. Now, I don't get enthusiastic about the road mile because, for example, Sinclair Johnson, 4:21:66 in Honolulu on 13 December, moves to number 2 in the all-time list. But that's only worth 1,180 points. So I find it difficult to enthuse about the road mile. Second in that race was Nikki Hills with 4:24:50, and she moves to number 9 in the all-time list, even though it's worth, measly 1,159 points. In the 5K road race, we mentioned Likina Meba at the Cursa dels Nassos on 31st December, 14:23, moves to number 5 in the all-time list. Then in Valencia 10K, surprising Brenda Jepchirchir, 29:25, moves to number 4, equal 4 on the all-time list, and that's worth a huge 1,280 points. Behind her, Likina Meba, 29:29, moves to number 6. But there were also other good marks. Claire Ndiwa, 29:49, Wede Kefale, 29:55, and Girmawit Gebrezahir, 30:02. All very good marks. Also, Faith Cherono, 30:06, Miriam Chebet, 30:08, same time as Eilish McColgan. Then these are all Valencia, as we saw, 30:10 by Jana van Lent in Nice, and another mark from Valencia, 30:21 for Debash Desta. And half marathon in Houston, good marks by winner Fantaye Belane, 1:04:49, and second placed Tzige Gebreslama with 1:04:52. And the best women's performances of the fortnight are the top 2 marks from Valencia 10K race, worth, as we saw, 1,280 points and 1,276. So let's look now at under 20s and under 18s, starting with the under 20. Very good mark in Doha on the 60 meters by Qatar's Jabbar Khamis with 6:52. These were recorded on 8 January. He moves to equal number 3 on the under 20 all-time list. He also had 6:54 in the final. The 6:52 was in the heats. Behind him in the heats, 6:58 for Farouk Aman, also of Qatar, who moves to number 14, equal in the under 20 all-time list. Then there's an interesting mark by Karabole Tebele of South Africa. That was on 6 December in Boston. He had clocked 6:59, which is number 15, equal on the under 20 all-time list. And that's interesting because it came just after two very good marks that he had run outdoor in end October and end November, 6:53 and 6:54. Over 300 meters, Sidin Jie of the US, 32:10 on 10 January in Clemson, moves to number 6 on the under 20 all-time list and is the first on short track. 400 meters short track, we've already spoken about Jonathan Sims' world under 20 record. Two very good marks in December, on 11 December in Bangkok, by Thailand's Puripol Bunson, 9.94, moves him to equal number 4th on the under 20 all-time list. That was in the heats, and he also ran 10 flat in the final. 1,000 meters short track, 2:20.39 for Joseph Socaras of the US, moves to number 7 in the under 20 all-time list. Over 5,000, always so in the 7 December meet in Boston, 13:30.76 for Trayvon Kitchen of the US, moves to number 8 in the under 20 all-time list, while Evans Kipkoskei of Kenya with 13:35.81 moves to number 12 on the all-time list. And then we had already mentioned this on 11 December in Sydney. Isaac Beecroft had clocked 38:02.68 at the 10,000 meters race walk, which totally destroyed the under 20 world record. Among the women, interesting mark on 10 January in Clemson by the USA's Skylar Brazel, 36.55 in the 300 meters short track. And earlier in December, on the 5th of December, Braylon Baker, she had clocked 36.68 in Lynchburg, which was then number 8 on the all-time lists for under 20s, and Brazil moves to number 6. 800 meters, Thaisa Buchanan of Australia, also on 6 December, she had clocked 2:02.67 and moved to number 16 on the under 20 all-time list. Then 5,000 meters, 3,000 meters mark. Very good 8:44.71 for Australia's Ali Zealand, moves her to number 14 on the under 20 all-time list. That was also on the 6th of December in Boston. Amazing meet, as was the 5,000 meters race, which saw the USA's Jane Hedengren run 14:44.79, and that moved her to number 2 in the under 20 all-time lists and number 11 in the senior all-time short track list. And behind her, Kenya's Judy Chepkoech had clocked 15:12.57, which was number 7 in the under 20 all-time list. So, final category, the under 18s. 3 marks which are not on World Athletics list, but are on Tila Stopaya. 60 meters short track, 6.69 for Malachi Dawson, which would be number 8 equal in the under 18 all-time list. That was 13 December. On 20 December in Birmingham, Alabama, also 6.69 for Kenan Walton Kamau of the US. And on 10 January 6.70 for Britain's Divine Iheme, which would move him to equal number 13 in the under 18 all-time lists without counting the 2 US above. 1500 meters, very good mark for France's Aloïs Abraham in Miramas on 20 December, 3:46.60. He moves to number 8 in the under 18 all-time short track list. 60 meters hurdles, 91.4 height. Turkey's Koray Uygun, 7.66, moves to number 7 in the under 18 all-time list. While Dutchman El Hadro Philipsen with 7.71 moves to number 16 equal on the under 18 all-time list. And among the women, 14-year-old Melanie Doggett, 23.25 on 20 December in Birmingham, Alabama, which would be number number 8 on their under 18 all-time list, but is not on World Athletics. So let's speak for a moment about Melanie Doggett, 14 years old, as we said, as she is born on 3 June 2011, and she had already run last year in early January in 23:33. Well, she improved that to 23:25 in Birmingham, Alabama at the Galleria Games for high school students. So World Athletics still doesn't have her previous mark from early last year, though US sources Tila Stopaya and other respected sites confirmed both the 23:33 from last year and the 23:25 from this year. Now, another under 18 runner, Quincy Wilson, still 17, he clocked 32.94 PB over 300 meters in New York City on the Marine Corps Holiday Classic on 27 December. World Athletics does not have all-time lists for under 18s on the distance, but the mark is equal number 2 among under 18s, and only Tyrese Cooper ran faster in 2017 with 32.87, while Jaden Mims had also run 32.94 in February 2024. Carole, anything you would like to add about underage athletes?
There's another athlete that I start following. Yeah, she's Annabelle Fasuba, the daughter of former world champion, 60-meter world champion Olisoji Fasuba. And they are based in Britain now, and she started competing on the British circuit, and it's a name to follow in the sprints.
Ah, that's interesting. So we have another figlia d'arte, as we say in Italian, the offspring of a famous athlete hitting the tracks. We'll check her out.
Yeah, she's among the top in the age category. It's around 15 years old.
Yeah. Wow. So more sad news, unfortunately, as one of the athletics greats has left us. On 23 December, it was announced that former hammer throw champion and respected coach Anatoly Bondarchuk had passed away aged 85 in Kamloops in Canada, where he had relocated at the start of the 2000s. So Bondarchuk was the 1969 European gold medalist. He also won bronze in 1971. In 1972, he took gold at the Olympic Games, and he was again a bronze medalist in 1976. Bondarchuk had set 2 world records at the end of 1969, the first with 74 meters 88, And then with 75 meters 48, he became the first man to throw over 75 meters. After his active career, he coached numerous athletes, including Soviet Union's Yuri Sedik, who won a hammer thrower, who won Olympic gold in 1980 and 1988, and still holds the world record. Of course, he couldn't compete in Los Angeles 1984. And Bondarchuk also coached Canada's Dylan Armstrong, shot putter who won Olympic bronze in 2008 and World Championships silver in 2011 and bronze in 2013. He also mentored reigning Olympic and world champion Ethan Katzberg and authored over 10 training manuals and 200 papers. So really amazing career for Anatoly Bondarchuk, and rest in peace, Anatoly. So let's look now at upcoming events as we reach the end of our show. On 16-17 January, USC Sprint National Pole Vault Summit in Reno. That's a World Indoor Tours silver. The following day, 18 January, marathons in Mumbai, Hong Kong, and Chongqing in China. 18 January is also the El Goibar Cross in Spain, a World Cross Country Tour Gold. Then a series of indoor tour silver meets on the 18th in CM indoor meet in Luxembourg, on the 21st Tampere indoor in Finland, on 22 January the Bauhaus Galan indoor in Stockholm. On 24 January the first gold event of the indoor tour, the New Balance Indoor Grand Prix in Boston. That day also ISTAF indoor silver in Düsseldorf. 25 January Osaka Women's Marathon. 25 January also Campeche International Cross Country, and a second World Cross Country Tour Gold event, the Cross Cup in Hanot in Belgium. A series of indoor silver meets, two of them on 25 January, Paris Meeting de Paris indoor, and the Orlen Cup in Łódź in Poland. On the 30th, in Miramas, another indoor silver meet, Elite Track Indoor, 30 and 31st, Perche Extrême in Caen, also silver tour. 31st is also the Kenya Trials for the World Indoors. That will be interesting, even though Kenya traditionally doesn't focus too much on the World Indoors. 31st January, also the Gorzów Jump Festival in Poland, and Tallinn 2026 combined events tour silver meet on 31st and 1st February. February 1st is also the second gold level meet of the indoor tour, the Melrose Games in New York City, but also meeting de l'Eure silver meet in Val de Reuil in France. It's also the Gran Premio de la Diputación de Cáceres cross tour silver meet in Spain. 3 February, gold indoor tour Czech indoor gala in Ostrava. 6 February, another gold event, the World Indoor Tour Gold Madrid. And 6 to 8, the Asian Indoor Championships in Tianjin in China. 7 February, we have a series of 3 indoor tour silvers, Fly Athens in Athens, high jump meet in Hustopeche, and Perche en Or in Roubaix. 7 December is also the start of the Winter Olympics in Milano Cortina. Actually, the Olympic flame is traveling through Vigevano today, so after we finish recording, I'll go out and cheer them on. 8 February, Cross Internacional Amendoeiras en Flor in Albufeira in Portugal, cross-country tour gold, and also the INIT gold indoor meet in Karlsruhe. Also meeting Metz Moselle, that's a silver tour, and 10 February, high jump meet in Krinec in the Czech Republic, also silver. 18 February, Belgrade indoor tour, which is gold level. Also the Siriqua Classic cross-country in Eldoret, cross-country tour gold. 2 indoor tour silver meets on the 14th, the Sound Invite in Winston-Salem in the US, and the international tournament Olga Ripakova in Ust-Kamengorsk in Kazakhstan. And finally, the World Indoor Tour Gold meeting in Liévin on the 19th of February. So that's the indoor season is really heating up, and that'll be very, very interesting. So we're now at the end of the show, and it was great having Carole with us.
Thank you very much for having me. And all the best for the next 2 weeks, which are really busy.
Absolutely. Thank you, Carole. Now, thank you, everyone. Remember to check the African Athletics United Facebook page, where you have all the relevant information about competition results from African athletes. Thank you all for watching, and see you in 2 weeks on Love Athletics, where we will again look together at the highlights, comments, and analysis of what's been happening in our sport over the past fortnight. Thank you, everyone. Ciao, Carole. Bye-bye.
Bye, ciao, Anna.